While we look forward to the question, sir, I think that was quite motivational. What did the capsule of your journey and such a fantastic journey that you presented to us. And not for a moment did I feel, at least the way that you conveyed it, not for a moment did I feel that, there was any lows, because the way you have taken up each and every challenge, each and every obstacle and converted it into an opportunity, not only for yourself but for others around you, I think that is quite inspirational. Expecting the questions will be coming now very soon. But I just wanted to congratulate you and thank you for inspiring so many of us here today with a real life example, that is you. Yes. So participants, you can continue with the questions now.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good
Mr.
evening, ma'am.
Victor, you are a real inspiration, and there is a saying that nothing is impossible. That is true. On hearing to your words and knowing about you and your life, really, I had goosebumps listening to you, and I was able to sense the challenges, what you have faced, and really, you are a leading person for rest of the community those who have such challenges. Thank you for that inspiration.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, sir, if you don't mind, I do have a question of my own. So IT is your field, right? IT is your arena, and when I think of IT, I usually see it as a very visual field, because everything has to be, every outline, every code, everything. Based on my very very limited knowledge, I feel it depends a lot on the emphasis of visual layout or the visual framework, or what you can see or what you can type so that others can see. But you have really mastered this domain, and not only have you mastered it for your advantage, you have actually catered to it in a way that other children are also learning from it. So when you got to know that you are losing your vision, what motivated you to actually continue in this field rather than maybe try for an alternative career?
Oh wow. I think for me, because I've probably been in the field for a very long time, I know that IT is the future, and I have seen some and heard that there's some people at like Microsoft and Google who are blind and who program, and so I was like, I had the inkling that if they can do it, then so can I. And then looking around in Nigeria and seeing what else can a person do, I thought I was probably in the best field. I think I have a good ground in mathematics, and with that, I said, okay, I can. Most of these concepts, algorithms that we use, are actually mathematical. And when I first started reading, getting somebody to read for me, the person was actually my neighbor. She will come in and she will read for me every evening from 6 to 7. I'll pay her. And at that time, I didn't even know that there was a software called I didn't know there were screen readers. On my phone, I would have to get somebody to check my emails, check my messages. It was very difficult at the time, but I had to be very trusting. And so with all this technology around me, I was like, okay, there should be something out there. So one of my friends told me about a screen reader, and then it was free. I was like, oh, wow. And so because I was already versatile with using the computer, especially with the command line, DOS prompts and stuff, the ones that people run away from, I realized that the screen reader is very versatile and good at reading the commands. So I hardly use my mouse, and so because I started getting more versatile with the commands and the command line, I didn't use the mouse anymore. Oh, but if I wanted to go on a web page or something, I'll have to get somebody to help me with that. But then what I could do was that I could, use keyboard shortcuts, like Control A to select the entire screen, Control C to copy, then go to text document and paste it there, and then get the screen reader to start reading from the text document. So that's what I was doing, and it helped. Then from there, when you're programming, you can basically. I saw the advancements in how I could use. I didn't have to use the mouse anymore. Yes, it's visual. Yes, it's very it is very visual. And I know that, especially when I'm like, take for example, the company that I work for, I actually have to do some data analysis, with their inventory and stuff like that. And so when I'm producing charts and graphs, I would have to tell the like my colleague, if I'm producing a chart, first of all, is this chart meaningful? Can you interpret the chart? And then when they say yes, I can now say, okay, this is how I think the chart should be like in my mind. And so they're like, yes, it's like that. Okay, I now tell them to use my finger and put it on the screen, and then trace my finger with, if it's a line graph, to see where the line is going on the screen. So they use my finger, trace it on the screen, and then I can now envisage with my mind, okay, yes, this is really what I wanted to do in my mind, and this is what I'm looking for, and so because I have already what I know I'm looking for, it is easier for me to envisage it and then probably describe it to people, and then I would use these kind of techniques. Since I can't see and they can see, I can say, okay, what does this say, or something, or what does this picture say? Sometimes when I'm watching a video, I just listen to the video and try as much as possible to get what I can get from it. But it's a highly visual field, but I just have to make do with what I have and keep on improving. One of the text editors I use for teaching is called VI or Vi, and it uses keyboard strokes for going up for movements, for deleting, for copying, pasting, and stuff like that. So I hardly use my mouse, and so that makes me more efficient or proficient when I'm teaching.
Thank you, sir. I think if I could learn anything from that, it is that we can only be as big as our dreams. And if we do like something, and if we do want something, we should focus on adapting with what we want, rather than letting go of something just because of some obstacles or some hurdles that life may throw at us. Thank you. That definitely humbles me a lot. And we actually have some more questions waiting for you. So Deepa Dogra firstly commends you for being a very brave soul and is asking, what role do you think schools have in bringing technology as a support for equity in learning?
For equity in learning. So does that mean that if the person has a disability and they want to, is that where it's coming from? If the person has a disability?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It is that.
Okay. So yes, I actually, most of these things is information, and so many people don't know that things exist, or tools or devices exist for people to learn some things. Yes, only yesterday. Last week I had another conference, but that was for a disability advocacy conference, and I was a speaker there, and I was talking about artificial intelligence. But then I met a lady who was trying to who was trying to advocate for blind people to use apps, so accessibility on the phones and stuff like that. I went to visit them yesterday. and they showed me so many devices. There's a talking phone, talking a device for reading PDFs, reading different files. There's a device that can actually scan a book. You can scan a book with optical character recognition (OCR), and then when you flip the page, it'll scan it and read the book out for you. So there are actually devices there that can help, and some of these devices actually they can convert to braille. So a lot of people have these braille readers that it's only one. It can only read one line at a time. So they connect the braille to the screen, and then when they connect the braille reader to the screen, they read it with their fingers. The screen, they read a line at a time. But then there's some advancements right now. They can read up to like 9 or 10 lines at a time, and so this will help the person who is learning programming and stuff like that. But we want to so that will be an advantage for people who want to learn as fast as someone who is sighted. So people who are non-sighted, people with disabilities, can learn faster with these kind of techniques. Now, the steep learning will come from learning the tool itself, because these devices have different buttons, and learning these buttons and where all these things are, mastering these things is where the actual learning comes from. But once the person can master it, then they can adapt it to everyday learning. But we're still getting far, and hopefully it's not as equitable as it should be. But as the technology advances, we're getting towards the goal.
Thank you, sir. I think drawing from your the closing statement of this question, we have the follow-up question: what kind of training does the staff should the staff have for this inclusive approach?
Okay, so going back to the discussion I had yesterday, so the guys, they've realized that not every person gets, somebody can walk down the road and fall and be disabled and be on a wheelchair. Somebody can be born blind. Somebody can, there are different kind of diseases when it comes to the eyes and stuff like that. There's also social status. So when you're approaching teaching these people, it's not a one size fits all. Like, I went to a Braille school. So what I was saying was that, most of these remedial places that I go to, they have just a one size fits all. But for me, because I had gone through school, I became visually impaired at a later age. I needed something different. So I think that for the instructor to teach the person who has a disability, should first get a background of the person before they engage in teaching, to know where this person is socially, intellectually, and all of that. Because even in Nigeria, there's some blind judges, high court judges that became blind at a later age. So they just need to learn Braille or have a device so that they can continue reading their legal documents. So, but for me, because I am into IT, my own kind of teaching will be different. So the training has to be diverse for the instructor, in order to impact the knowledge.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. We have a question from Yasmin Liaquat Sultana, and after that, we'll be taking one final question for the evening. So, Yasmin Liaquat Sultana is asking, what message could you give to our students, that is the young adolescents of India, so that we can go back to our classrooms and convey it with your inspirational journey?
Sorry, and convey I didn't get that last part.
So I will repeat the question. What message could you give to our students in India so that it can be conveyed to the classroom along with your inspirational journey?
Um, that nobody is dumb. That everybody is smart and everybody can learn. It might take you longer, but you can indeed learn. And or it might be that you need some creativity in your learning. There are some schools in Nigeria here that they teach people with autism they start teaching them how to code, because they're good with numbers. So the learning might have to be tailored to the students, and also knowing that you have to have some enthusiasm in learning. Have the enthusiasm, have a sense of purpose, have self-confidence, um, try and have a good self-image, and try and be disciplined to learn. Because with discipline is Jim Rohn, one of my people that I used to follow. He's passed away now, but he said self-discipline is the bridge between setting goals and achievements. So, once you have that sense of purpose, what you want to use the learning for, to drive them so that they get inspired with the learning, then they can they can carry on. A lot of children love writing, a lot of children love mathematics, a lot of children love science, so I think we should engage them in these things and tell them not to give up, but keep on trying, and don't get, if there's a problem, try as much as possible to look at the problem from a different way, that kind of thing. So yeah, have these things, have a sense of enthusiasm, and develop your expertise, and obviously the sky is the limit.
Thank you, sir. We do have one final question for you from Digavali Nageswara Rao, asking what kind of teaching do you take up at your school? And he has mentioned a few examples, for example, like child-centered, teacher-centered, playful, experiential, meditative, and yogic teaching. So, what kind of teaching do you take up at your school?
So I might not know these terms, from a theoretical standpoint, because I didn't study education. I'm just trying to impact what I know from what I know into my students. So I might not know these terms, but I hope what I describe will be tailored to something near one of these terms that you know. So basically, I don't want it to be a strict place. I want them to be free. I want my students to be free. I want them to ask as many questions as possible, because I realize that going into programming, this is a new field for some of or most of these guys. And so, or some of them, they just want to enhance their programming skills. So I try as much as possible to let them be as free as possible. They can ask any questions when they're stuck. I also engage with them in terms of, I'll give them some example code, and sometimes I'll tell them to brainstorm. So while they're brainstorming, they can ask questions. While we're giving the class with the code, and they get to a line of code that they don't understand, they can ask the questions. They can interrupt me as much as possible. Some of them, even though the class is for 2 hours to 2 hours 30 minutes, they like to stay onwards like 3 hours. They really enjoy the class and stuff like that. So I make it as fun, not as strict as when I was growing up, with all the teachers, you ask questions at the end of the class. No, I wanted it to be more engaging, so that it will be free flow of information from teacher to students.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So yes, I think we have received your answer, and for the previous question, Ms. Yasin Lurakat Sultana also extends her appreciation. She says, "Wow, what an effective answer! Thank you so much, sir. You are an inspiration."